Francis Bacon, the Father of the Scientific Method, by Ella, Annie, and Rachel. Bacon was an English philosopher, lawyer, salesman, essayist, historian, intellectual reformer, and champion of modern science. Born on January 22nd, 1561 in London, England, and died on April 9, 1626, due to pneumonia at the age of 65. Francis Bacon attended Trinity Cambridge College, starting his studies on April of 1573 when he was only 12 years old, and finished his studies in December of 1575.
Francis Bacon was born into a poor family.
Francis Bacon's father was Nicholas Bacon, an English politician that served during Queen Elizabeth I of England's reign. He died when Bacon was only 18 years old.
His mother was Anne Cook Bacon, an English lady and scholar. She made a lasting contribution to English religious literature with her translation from Latin of Jules' Apology of the Anglican Church. Can we just talk about how her name is literally Anne Cook Bacon?
He was the youngest of 7. He had 4 brothers, Sir Nicholas, Anthony, Edward, and Nathaniel. He also had 2 sisters, Elizabeth and Anne.
When Bacon was 45, he married a 14-year-old girl named Alice Burnham. However, they never had any kids. Since he was the youngest, he inherited the least of his father's will and had to get a job. His father was a part of the parliament, so he had to fill in his footsteps and join the parliament for 40 years.
Francis Bacon was always a close aide to King James. In 1603, King James was crowned King of England after Queen Elizabeth I's death. The same year, King James knighted Francis Bacon.
In the Parliament, Bacon was Attorney General, which meant he had the primary role of advising the government on any legal repercussions of their actions, either orally at meetings or in writing. As well as the government, he also advised individual departments. Later, he was appointed Lord Chancellor, which meant he had the highest ranking among those great officers of state and was a member of the cabinet. By law, he is responsible for the efficient functioning and independence of the courts. However, Bacon was later kicked out of the parliament after serving 40 years due to a scandal. Bacon was accused of bribery and he was impeached by the parliament. He was tried and found guilty. He was then sentenced to the Tower of London and had to pay a £40,000 fine, which is $52,000. Some sources believe that he was being used to protect the Duke of Buckingham from embarrassing himself and that his enemies in the parliament set him up. However, he was pardoned by the king and only spent 4 days in prison. His fine lifted after his release. Rumors spread that his wife cheated and had an affair with another man.
The rumor turned out to be that Alice was having an affair with John Underhill, and after Francis Bacon's death, they got married. After his pardon, he decided he would pursue his passion for science and philosophy. Some of his major scientific achievements were the scientific method. He also discovered the Novum Organum.
The Novum Organum is known by many names, like the scientific method. Bacon created this modern method based on Aristotle's Organon. Instead of basing it off of assumptions, like most scientists at that time, he wanted to base it off of facts and evidence. The scientific method is a scientific tool used to organize data by first asking a question, researching, writing a hypothesis, doing the experiment, analyzing the experiment, and then writing a conclusion.
Besides being a scientist and a philosopher, Bacon was also an author and published many books and wrote many essays.
The advancement of learning is a great example of many of the wonderful books that Francis Bacon has wrote. It talks about human understanding in three parts: history, poetry, and philosophy. It was highly regarded during the time of its publication. Francis Bacon also wrote another book, History of Life and Death. It was published in 1623. It talked about the study of the body when you get older. It analyzes that information to find remedies to prolong life. Francis Bacon had an important role in developing British colonies in North America, including the Carolinas, Virginia, and Newfoundland. Newfoundland in 1910 even made a stamp of Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon's death was caused by pneumonia, an affliction that inflames your lungs which may cause it to fill with liquid. Due to one late night of experimenting the effects of ice on meat, he developed pneumonia. In other words, you can say that meat killed Bacon. Francis Bacon was a very important figure during the scientific revolution. Not only did he inspire so many people, but he also helped us obtain the knowledge we know today. Francis Bacon's involvement in North America has helped shape it to what it is today. Even Thomas Jefferson said, Bacon, Locke, and Newton, I consider them as the three greatest men that's ever lived. Locke and Newton being also very influential people during the scientific revolution. His book, History of Life and Death, has helped people find remedies to prolong their life. It's also regarded as one of the most influential books that Bacon has ever written. Being a member of Parliament for over 40 years, he has done a lot for his government and his country. In that time, he was knighted, appointed Attorney General and Lord Chancellor. He has helped Britain become the most powerful empire in the world. The scientific method is Bacon's most influential work. He took the method of a highly regarded man, Aristotle, and made it his own, and made it something that was better. Bacon's method is used daily by scientists and helped lay the foundation for others to conduct their experiments. Francis Bacon was a scientist, lawyer, politician, statesman, author, and much more. He lived a long, fulfilling life. He's done it all, from being Lord Chancellor to spending 4 nights in jail and to becoming one of the most influential people during the scientific revolution.